Welcome to Real Recaps. Today, we'll look at a 2022 drama crime thriller movie titled Kimmy. The opening scene of the movie shows Bradley, the CEO of a tech company called Amygdala. He gives an interview about their newest product Kimmy. He says Kimmy is a smart speaker and voice assistant which makes use of human monitoring to improve the device's search algorithm. The interviewer also asks him about Amygdala's plan to soon hold an initial public offering, which stands to earn Bradley a fortune. Bradley informs her to talk to her again the following week before ending the interview. After the interview, Bradley goes upstairs to his living room. He talks to his wife and she informs him that their son is in the room sleeping. He decides to go check on him. On his way to the room, he receives a call from a man, Rivas, informing him to send the second payment. He asks if there's a chance of discovery and Rivas says no. The next scene shows an employee of Amygdala, Angela, in her home. Angela works from home while monitoring incoming data streams from Kimmy devices and making corrections to the software. She brushes her teeth and works out for a few minutes. Afterwards, she goes to her apartment's window and stares at a guy, Terry, living across the street. She picks up her phone and texts him. Angela then tells him to meet her at the food truck in 12 minutes. Angela goes to the bathroom to freshen up and get ready. After she's done, she picks up her bag and packs everything she needs including her medications. Upon getting to the door, Angela starts suffering from an anxiety attack and falls to the ground. Meanwhile, Terry is waiting for her by the food truck. Moments later, she gets up and decides not to leave her apartment. She checks the food truck and sees that Terry is gone. Angela then commands Kimmy to open her desktop computer so she can start working. Just then, Angela hears a disturbing sound from upstairs. She calls the construction contractor of the apartment, Marco, and informs him of the disturbance. Marco says that he's renovating, but Angela tells her that they already have a fixed time for that. Marco then calls off the renovation and Angela informs Marcos that her father was a construction contractor too. Angela goes back to her computer and starts fixing command errors. She soon realizes that she still has 626 errors to resolve and decides to do something else. She moves her laptop and FaceTimes her mother. Her mother tells her that she needs to go out often if she wants to meet someone. She soon ends the call to avoid her mother's scolding. Meanwhile, another neighbor, Kevin, from across the street is always looking at Angela from his apartment. Later that night, Angela receives help on a system reboot from one of her co-workers, Darius. Afterwards, Darius wants them to talk more but Angela ends the call on him. She looks outside her window and sees Terry arriving home. She then invites him to come over to her place. Moments later, Terry knocks on the door and Angela berates him for not buzzing her at the entrance before coming in. Shortly afterward, the duo make out and Terry tries to invite her over for dinner but she refuses. He also discovers that Angela's Instagram page is filled with fake pictures. Minutes later, Angela gets upset and Terry leaves. Angela then sits down in front of her computer and listens to data streams. She hears Kimmy pick up recordings that suggest a woman is in trouble. She brings out a sound mixer to get rid of the background noise from the recording. She then discovers that a woman is suffering from an assault. She forwards the recording to her superior for proper handling and goes to sleep. The next day, Angela wakes up suffering from a severe toothache and decides to call her doctor. The doctor informs her that she has to come to the hospital but she refuses. The doctor tries to tell her about the urgency of the matter but she suggests that her doctor send her home antibiotics and pain relievers. After seeing that she is stubborn, the doctor agrees to her request. Soon afterward Angela goes to her computer to start the day's work. She receives a video call from her superior who berates her for sending the recording to him. He says it's none of his business but Angela tries to tell him that the woman might be in serious trouble. After some persistence, her superior decides to give her the contact details of the company's head of organic interpolation, Natalie. He says Natalie can help her out with whatever she needs. Later on, Angela puts a call through to Natalie's office but the secretary tells her that Natalie is not around. She tells Angela to send the recording and Natalie will deal with it once she is back but she refuses. Further into the day, Angela keeps calling Natalie's office but she gets no positive reply. Angela then decides to call Terry. She asks him that she heard a crime on the stream and which of the authorities is she supposed to report to. Terry tells her that the appropriate authority is the FBI because the internet is interstate. After the call, Angela calls Darius to ask for help. She asked Darius for an admin code so as to access the owner's device while the duo talk. Angela's therapist calls her to remind her that their session was due to start 20 minutes ago. Angela ends the call with Darius and focuses her attention on what the therapist is saying. Apparently Angela is suffering from anxiety and agoraphobia due to a previous problem. Angela gets bored of the conversation and ends the call. She then starts trying to get more information on the device owner. Seconds later, she found out that the device belongs to a woman named Samantha. She then downloads more recordings from her device. In one of the recordings, Angela hears Samantha arguing with a man named Brad. She accuses Brad of making out with her forcefully, but Brad sends her away coldly. In the next recording, Angela hears what seems to be the woman's termination in her home. As she sits down crying, Angela receives a call from Natalie. Natalie tells her to come to the office with the recording and they will show it to the FBI for more investigation. Surprisingly, Angela agrees to leave her home. Before leaving, she downloads the recordings on a flash drive and puts it in her bag. Kevin also sees her leaving her apartment. Angela walks through the street like a ghost and refuses to interact with anyone. The next scene shows Bradley receiving a call from Rivas. He tells Bradley that one of his workers has gotten a recording of their shady deal from a Kimmy device and is headed to Natalie's office. Rivas asks Bradley to send more money so they can deal with the problem. It's now apparent that Bradley is Brad from the recordings. Soon afterwards, Angela arrives at the office building and asks for Natalie's office. She arrives at the office and Natalie tells her to sit. After hearing her story, Natalie asks for the recording, but Angela insists that the FBI must be there to hear it also. Natalie then informs Angela that she is aware that she took a mental health leave not quite long ago. Angela says she was assaulted and the police put her on trial instead of the boy. She also lets it out that her father is dead. Upon seeing that Angela won't give up the recording, Natalie informs her that she will call the FBI. She leaves the office and tells Angela to sit tight. Moments later, Angela feels some pain in her mouth due to the toothache and decides to take her pills in the bathroom. She comes back and sits down for several hours without Natalie returning. Just then, she receives a message from Darius that the recordings have been deleted from the server. She immediately stands up and sees two men coming toward her. Angela runs down the stairs and manages to escape her assailants. Angela gets to the streets and walks by two police officers, but she's afraid to go to them. She then checks her device map to locate the nearest FBI field office around her and decides to walk there. Meanwhile, Rivas is seen with Bradley. Bradley hands over the payment money to Rivas and leaves. Rivas then calls his hacker Yuri to help him track Angela's device so they can know her location. Yuri locates Angela's cell phone and informs Rivas of her location. Shortly afterward, Angela turns off her mobile phone, but Yuri remotely turns it back on. Upon noticing this, Angela dumps the phone in a waste bin. Just then Rivas's men catch up with her and attempt to force her into a van, but a group of nearby protesters prevent her from being abducted. Yuri decides to go through Angela's search history and realize that she is headed to the FBI office. Moments later, Angela is drugged while trying to find her way to the FBI office. She's then taken to a van by her assailants. On the way to her house, her assailants talk about how they plan to terminate her and make it look like a home invasion. Upon getting to the apartment's entrance, the men are distracted by Kevin, but he gets punctured in the process and Angela manages to escape into her house. Upon entering the house, Angela sees Rivas waiting for her. Rivas opens the door for his men to bring Kevin in. Rivas collects her purse and gets hold of her hard drive. Kevin then informs Angela that he notices that she doesn't leave her home just like him. He immediately knew that Angela was in trouble when he saw her leaving. Shortly afterward, Rivas comes over and asks Angela if she has any other copies. Angela is initially hesitant to answer, but when Rivas threatens to let Kevin bleed out, she tells him that the recordings are saved on her laptop computer. While Rivas and his men are going through Angela's laptop, her mother calls and Angela uses her Kimmy device to distract Rivas and his men, thus allowing her to escape to the floor above. While two of the men are distracted, Kevin punctures the third one with a knife. Angela then cobbles together a weapon using a nail gun left by the construction people in the apartment above her. Angela starts attacking and terminating the men with the nail gun. The last guy tries to run, but Angela terminates him too. Just then, Terry, whom she had planned to meet up with, arrives just as she is calling 911. The next scene shows Bradley has been arrested for Samantha's termination. Angela also goes out happily for the first time in a long time to meet up with Terry at a food truck while rocking a new hairstyle. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.